Fall in love with 252 exclusive offers on the Citroën range at Hugo Luna Motors today. Explore our impressive collection of Citroën cars and vans, where advanced comfort, style, safety and reliability all come together. Order your 252 today and take advantage of low-rate finance, a €500 deposit contribution and avail of a free home charger. Book your test drive today at hugolunamotors.ie. Citroën. For everyone, like no one.
Citroën.
Good evening and welcome to Encore, your weekly arts and entertainment show on Midlands 103 with Zoe Ryan. This week is a big one in the arts and entertainment calendar because this Friday, September 19th, is Culture Night. And there are events happening all across the Midlands to mark the occasion. Later on in the show, I'll be giving a rundown of what's taking place in each of the 3 Midlands counties. But first, speed painting, comedy and a one-man show. Coming up on Encore tonight, from the stage of South Africa's Got Talent to Tour Ard. Artist Shane Turner fills us in on his big comeback. Immaculate, spelt with an E. Comedian Emma Doran reveals the idea behind her appropriately titled stand-up tour. And the jack of all trades that is Mick Cray joins us to discuss his most challenging project to date. My first guest has sold out the likes of Vicar Street, is a best-selling author, a regular on our television screens, and in recent years, her voice has dominated podcast platforms. She's about to embark on a tour across the UK and Ireland with her latest show, Immaculate, which she'll be bringing to a number of venues in the Midlands in the coming weeks and months. It is none other than comedian Emma Doran. Emma, thanks a million for joining me on the show this evening.
Thanks for having me.
Emma, before we get on to chatting about the tour itself, I wanted to have a quick chat with yourself about how it was that you got into comedy.
Yeah, so I started comedy about 12 years ago, and I was on maternity leave, and I had kind of done little bits and bobs, like, you know, production assistant and stuff, kind of hoping that somebody would spot me and say, "We can't have you making tea, you need to go in front of the camera." So I'd had a couple of little things, and then somebody said to me, a producer, they were like, "You should do stand-up." And I think when I got kind of that nod from somebody in television, I thought, oh, maybe I will. It was always something in the back of my head, but I didn't really know how you go about it. And I just thought, God, it's one thing, you know, making your friends kind of laugh, but I was like, big claim out to get up on stage in front of strangers.
Yeah.
But when I was on maternity leave, then I thought, do you know what, like, no, I was 29, but I already, like, had a 10-year-old baby. I thought, that 10 years has gone so fast. Maybe I should try put myself out there. I think what I twigged was that if you're going to be artistic or creative in any way, the catch is that you have to put yourself out there and be vulnerable. You know, you have to kind of expose yourself. So when I finally came to terms with that part of it, I was like, okay, so I signed up for an open mic night in Dublin, a place called Battle of the Axe. And I went along to do 7 minutes, so all the acts would have been doing 7 minutes. Yeah. Some of them their first time, but some of them, you know, they wouldn't have been doing stand-up long anyway. Yeah. Like nobody would have been getting paid now or anything like that. And they had a little vote at the end of the night of who was the best act from the audience. And I won the vote. Right. So I think that really kind of made me go, oh, maybe there's something in it. But then even just, I think the experience of being on stage, I wasn't expecting to get hooked straight away. Like it was, I just didn't know that's the thing that I was missing. Yeah. But now I was very green. Like I didn't know how to leave the stage once I was done. Yeah. So I just kind of, like, when I said my last joke, I just kind of put the mic back and walked off stage. Do you know what I mean? Like I wasn't able to kind of go, I've been able to do it, thanks so much. Yeah. Good night. Like, you know, oh God, too much. So, so then after that, then I got chatting to a few comedians at that gig, and they were like, oh, you should go on to this club, that club. And that's how it all started. So I've basically been gigging ever since, every week, you know. And at the start, you're contacting people to try and get 7-minute spots, and then maybe you might get a 10 or, you know, 12-minute spot and that kind of thing. And then you might do 15 minutes somewhere and someone might give you 20 quid. or they might say there's a drinks token. And then I go, okay, brilliant. So
we're getting somewhere.
Yeah, it was very much. I feel like I did my apprenticeship, but I just loved it. Like I loved it.
So that was how it all started off. You got your taste, you're there, and you've been going on this indestructible path ever since.
I've been going anyway. I've been going since.
Yeah. No, I was a big fan of The Republic of Telly and Bridget and Eamon when those shows were on. What was it like to be involved in those series?
It was great because when you're an up-and-coming comedian, you're kind of looking for a little bit of a sign, like that this could maybe progress somewhere, like when you've been doing the clubs and you've been trying to hone it and stuff. So that was great. So I did Republic of Telly a good few times, and then Jen and Bernard and then Justin would have written Bridget and Eamon. So they knew me from Republic of Telly. So they would have given me, would have gotten in touch for that. So it was great. And, it's a great thing then when you're kind of going around the country and going to pubs and clubs and, varying size audiences, then to kind of say to your mum, I'm going to be on telly tonight. It's kind of like it buys you a bit of time where everyone goes, okay, well, it must be working to a certain degree,
Yeah.
But yeah, really fun experiences, you know what I mean? And I think really it's a pity that we don't have another Republic of Telly because it was always a great vehicle for up-and-coming comedians to get a little segment or a slot doing something. And I know when I was coming up at that time, it was definitely, it was a kind of like a light at the end of the tunnel for lots of us. That maybe if you get on Republic of Telly, and then you could put it on a poster, or a club and they booked you would put it on a poster, or you might be able to get to write a sketch for Republic of Telly. So big credit to them for giving me the shout.
And something that you touched on there was being vulnerable, and obviously it comes with the nature of it, that with comedy, the reason why it's so successful is people do draw on experiences from their own life so that the crowd before them will relate with it. And something that I think a lot of people will obviously relate to and admire you for is that you speak very openly about being a young mother, and that has turned into a lot of material for your work.
Yeah, and at the time, obviously, it wouldn't have been anything that I was spoken about. So I was 18, and during that period, and then even later on, I would have tried to give the impression of, nothing bothers me, I'm just getting on with it now. And it was only really through stand-up, because when I started to say things when I was on stage, I was like, I don't know about this, and I'd get that big laugh or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, okay, well, obviously other people were thinking this as well. And, I for me, just being open and honest, there's just so much freedom in that then. And I suppose sometimes I'd be thinking, oh my God, am I going to be talking about this when I'm drawing my pension? But the other side of it is, I find that I would get messages from women all the time about their experience with crisis pregnancy, their mother's story, they were adopted, their sister, their best friend, whatever, themselves, whatever it is. And I think it's because if you have a crisis pregnancy or you go through something like that, you never forget it. And it probably, at the time when it happens, you probably don't have the luxury of being able to talk about it then, because you're just too busy trying to get on and survive. So I never mind talking about it, because I understand why people are interested, and usually it's because they have their own story connected to it, or
Of course.
So that, I don't mind it in that sense. But I'm sure my daughter's and she's 22 now. She's absolutely fine. She's doing a PhD, but in the article she was referred to as the baby. And she's like, do I not get a name here? She could be kind of a bit of slagging within the family, which is all, as it should be. For me personally, it's just a lot easier to be open and honest about stuff with you, isn't it?
Sure.
It's very cleansing, I think, when you kind of say stuff out loud, or, you write it or whatever, you're free of it.
Oh, there's a cathartic element, isn't there, to it, about kind of taking things like that weigh a burden and putting them into your art and kind of transforming what they are and what they mean.
Yeah, when you kind of own them then.
Yeah.
I suppose a lot of, comedians even would a lot of them might have the thing of they get up on stage, they might say the thing about their appearance, or so it's that thing of you're kind of saying it first, so you own it then if you're saying it first, or you're able to flag yourself about somebody. So I think it's that thing of like nothing anyone else can say about it would have any effect on you, because you're like, I've said everything there is to say on it.
Yeah, you beat them to the punchline.
Probably the way there probably is a bit of a self-protection thing behind it all as well, laughing at yourself.
And on that topic, would you get much heckling from crowds?
No, you don't really, because I mean, you might at comedy gigs, like, there'd be different degrees of it. So at comedy gigs, sometimes it's usually like there's no badness meant from it. So a lot of the time it's that somebody's a bit too merry and they forget that there's a whole other audience there, and they think that it's just a conversation between you and them.
Yeah.
So sometimes I've heard people like add on to the joke.
Okay.
And then it's like, what you say? They say it again. You're like, okay, we'll chat later. Like, I'm working here. We'll chat later, you know. So usually it's like, everyone's like, what did they say? Or, you know, because in their head, and obviously there might be a bit of delay. You know, like you might react to something that was like, you know, 30 seconds ago, which doesn't sound long, but in comedy I think a long time ago.
Yeah.
So there's been very few experiences where it's been, the intent of it has been to be made or something. But definitely in the early days, like, there's been some mad clubs that were kind of set up, you know, last minute in rooms that probably never worked. Like, I mean, I've done gigs where there's been darts on at the same time.
Yeah.
You know, and there's people that were part of like this club, you know, like had paid in and this is their space to watch their darts.
Yeah.
And they have me set up doing stand-up. You know, I'm kind of getting heckled by the darts on the telly because they don't want to watch darts. I've had people storm on stage in small clubs. There's offers, but I would never, it's not something that I would go out there worrying about.
Yeah.
And I don't think many comedians would. I mean, a heckler sometimes, like, it can be a welcome thing sometimes, because then you can kind of slag them, it can be funny. I mean, the thing that you'd be worried about is that if you go out and people are just kind of looking at the ground, you know, you start to hear those coughs, or people start getting fidgety, and, you know, you kind of are almost guessing what the conversations are. Like, you know, someone has said to their friend, I might go and get a drink, or this is on, you know, that's the kind of stuff. A heckler at least adds a bit of energy. So you're like, oh, God, okay. Yeah. But I think most people, you know, chances are they've paid to go to the gig, or they've certainly had a bit of a wash to make the effort to go out. They don't usually, people might think that they're going to say something, but they don't, because sometimes I get messages from people the night before gigs, and they're like, oh, we're coming, you won't be over for us, we're going to show out this, that and the other. It never happens. Because of the social pressure of actually being in the crowd.
Of course. Because,
you know, if you were sitting in the crowd and you started shouting up, all the people around you start looking at you. You'd be like, oh God, what have I done? So, no, most people are very well behaved, I'd say.
So you started out with stand-up. We've said there that you've delved in television. You then went into doing podcasts. So you co-host a podcast, Keep It Tight, with Deirdre O'Kane, and you've also delved into writing as well. You had a bestseller there last year. Yeah, so I've been doing podcasts for years. I suppose when you're a comedian, talking is not an issue. So, and it's, you know, it's a great way to connect with people, because a podcast, it's so intimate. Like, you know, you kind of forget that it's when people are maybe listening to you when they're out for their walk, or they're listening to you when they have their, like, a little bit of alone time in their car. You know, like the radio, you might put on the radio when there's a gang in the car, but a podcast, it's usually kind of you listening to the podcast. So you can really chat about stuff that maybe you wouldn't get the chance to do online. And then with the writing, I suppose I had always written. I wouldn't really consider myself as an author, but like, I suppose stand-up is that you're writing. Yeah. And the opportunity just kind of unfolded, you know, because I think there was an idea for a book, and then I started writing a bit, and then I was like, oh, well, there's actually a lot more here than maybe kind of like a coffee table book, and, you know, so it was very, it was a very kind of gradual thing.
But I think it's nice to be doing. It's nice to get a flavour of different things and do different things, and I think that's probably what I like about stand-up is that it's different all the time. Like even you might have 2 gigs a night and they could be completely different.
Yeah.
Because of what happens in the room. So, yeah.
Yeah. So Immaculate is the next stop. And I have to give it to you. You love an old pun, don't you? I mean, Immaculate is spelled with Emma at the front. You previously had a tour called Dilemma with Emma in the word as well.
Yeah, no. I need one for the next one now. That kind of came about because, Conception or whatever. And I said, no. And then we were thinking, was it about Madonna, her album? And I was like, no, but I was like, actually, it was kind of a nod to it because when I was in school, all girls school, 1 year, a girl in the year ahead of us for the talent show sang like a virgin. Right. And we were all sitting down the back kind of going, oh my God, like, this is very, raunchy. And she was 6 months pregnant at the time.
Oh God, okay.
And then I was kind of saying, I shouldn't have been so judgy because it was me the following year. Anyway, so there's a little nod to her, but Immaculate for me is actually, it makes me think of like family. So when I was a kid, that was like the biggest compliment a mother could give another mother. To tell her that her house was immaculate.
Yeah.
Or her children were immaculate. You know what I mean? Well, she was probably having a breakdown herself. So it's kind of a little nod to that because in the show I'm talking about I'm kind of in this place now where like the relationship I now have with my parents, then my own daughter is an adult. And, when I was her age, I was already a mother. So I'm kind of looking at the 3 generations there. And we're all, functioning adults, but all very different, even though we're all part of the same family. So, yeah, it's just kind of looking at that. And my name just fit into it very handily as well. So, but I'm really looking forward to it because I think it's very much like I am taking a lot of my real life. I feel like when I started comedy, I probably focused more on gags. Whereas now I'm kind of like, I'm really like listening directly from my life more than I have been before. So we'll see how that goes down with the family.
Exactly. Emma, I've long been a fan of yours, so it's a real privilege to speak to you this evening. But you actually recently posted online about an encounter with a presumed fan in London. So you were walking down the street, you heard someone say, "Love you, Emma." You assumed they were talking to you until you looked up to see that they were on the phone, presumably to an Emma that they loved.
Yes. I was quite early in the morning. It was like about 7:30-ish in the morning.
Yeah.
So I was kind of like half asleep. And it was just the way he said, but because few people who live in London got in touch with me, they're like, never make eye contact with me. Well, he was making eye contact with me. So I was fully convinced that this what he was saying. He was saying it to me. And before that, it's actually so funny, before that, I had just bumped into, Paddy Power.
Yeah.
I bumped into Paddy Power walking down the street with his son. By the time I got to this chap, I was well convinced at that stage. I was like, oh, sure, London is just a village of Ireland.
Yeah.
I'm completely mortified for myself. Completely. So I hope his Emma is doing well. But it wasn't me who was talking to anyway.
I love it. And you can catch Emma in the Dean Crow in Athlone on September 27th, Mullingar Arts Centre on November 6th, Burr Theatre on December 6th, and she'll be in Carlow, Cork and Shannon and Kilkenny in March. Emma Doran, it has been an absolute pleasure.
Thanks so much. Thanks for the chat.
Up next, you may have heard of speed dating, but are you familiar with speed painting? We'll be hearing all about it after this.
Midlands 103.
You are listening to Encore on Midlands 103 with Zoe Ryan. I'm joined now by artist Shane Turner, also known as Paint Addiction, to talk about his upcoming event that is part of Culture Night at Tour Ard. So Shane, could you start off by giving us a quick overview of what is speed painting?
Watching art itself is quite a boring experience, watching paint dry. But speed painting was developed to eliminate that.
Okay.
In a few mere moments, you're supposed to experience the entire culmination of a painting from start to finish. And the whole purpose of speed painting, in my point of view, is to keep you engaged mysteriously as possible, as mysteriously as you could possibly held. And then kind of just it culminates in just one reveal at one moment, and you wonder how you didn't see that coming. That's usually that's how I like to structure them.
Okay.
Generally.
And how quick are we talking about here? Like, how quickly is it from the time that the paintbrush touches the canvas to when you've completed a painting?
It depends on the design and how difficult the design is.
Of course.
When I did South Africa's Got Talent, it was 2 minutes. But I've had shows that have lasted up to 10 minutes. It's all about the kind of difficulty range. It's about how much of a diversion there is, because I don't really just paint. I try and create as much of a mysterious moment as possible, because it's my job to try and divert your gaze as far as I can before you can realize what the painting is.
Okay.
So that's my challenge, and your challenge is to figure out what it is. And I've had people screaming whenever they watch the shows, like, it's a parrot, or it's this, or and
The guesses,
right. Yeah, they're never right.
Has anyone ever been right?
Yes.
Okay,
yes,
they have.
I painted for Nelson Mandela's 90th birthday.
Wow, okay.
And somebody had seen that, and then I was invited to another function, and the clients had no imagination. They really just wanted to stick to the same script they had before because it was successful. And ironically, half of the audience was at the previous show.
Oh, right, okay.
So everyone just started screaming, Mandela, Mandela. I'm like, why?
Why would you think I do the same thing twice?
I realised that it was the same audience.
Yeah.
But yeah, apart from that, very rarely do people work it out.
And what do the paintings generally be of? Is it more of a design, or is it actually like that, a figure or an item that you're trying to ensemble so that people can guess?
We used to do a lot of product launches, so we would hide products into the paintings themselves. We could put corporate logos.
Okay.
We can do all sorts of things. But for the most part, famous people, a recognizable face is the best way to go, because then it becomes a general consensus of everybody in the audience. Everybody kind of recognizes them unified, as opposed to like we used to do a lot of retirement functions where you'd paint the CEO that's retiring and all that kind of thing. And those for me are even better than when you get a celebrity, because it's more personal. But you also get scrutinized way more because everybody knows that person's face so well from like being intricately close to them, and it's not blurry like on a screen, you know what I mean? So it's there's a lot of different challenges with it, but it's ultimately it's insanely enjoyable.
And when do you tend to come up with the idea? So someone gets in touch with you and says, I want you to perform at a certain event for me. Is it then that you start planning, or sometimes does it just come to you the day of?
No, I like to plan them completely. The more time I get to plan them, the better.
Yeah.
The only problem that I've had, this is the launching of the show that hasn't been done in 10 years.
That's right. That was what I was going to ask, is that I'd seen this is the first time you're performing live since pre-pandemic times.
Yeah.
And why have you decided now to make a comeback?
It was always kind of in the cards to make a comeback. I've always wanted to just get back on stage, and now I'm trying to formulate a whole new exhibition plan whereby I incorporate everything that I do, because I do murals, I do paintings, I used to airbrush motorbikes and cars, and I've won awards for so many different kinds of artistic expressions. And I wanted to try, eventually my goal now is to create a show that incorporates all of these different aspects as well. So I'm going to start, like with the shows, they're also going to be evolved a lot from what they were to what they're going to be. I'm going to be trying to expand into spray painting, using plastering equipment, making my own kind of sets, and then, but for now it's I'm going to kind of just stick to what I know. But I'm hoping that that's where it goes, because I mean the inspiration of restarting the entire show element in my life again it's something that's just never left my brain. And I'm tired of the gnawing sound of why aren't you practicing? Why aren't you painting?
And talk us through Culture Night then, because there's a couple of elements to it. There's obviously the speed painting is the performance element of it, but beforehand there's going to be a meet the artist element, and then afterwards there's going to be the launch of kind of an exhibition type thing.
Yeah, there's a choir and a workshop that is happening before the actual show itself. And then after that, there's going to be access to an exhibition where I'm going to be showing a lot of different other paintings I've produced over the years. And there's a whole different range, because I do airbrushing and painting with brushes and spray painting, and I use plaster in certain elements. The range is quite different. So there's always a different thing to look at, and I've tried to separate them enough that they don't feel like too much of a flea market when you walk in. Like we have this variety, and it's, like there's too many spices to choose from. So I'm trying to separate them a little bit. So on the stage itself, there's going to be a little bit of a few things that will be exhibited. Then there's another area that's going to have a few other paintings in it. But for the most part, it's just going to kind of showcase the different levels of detail that can be achieved with these, with the tools that I use.
And so I assume because it's upon us now, you already have a very clear vision in your head of what it is you're going to create.
I have the whole thing's worked out. It's working so far.
Oh, you practice?
Yes, I do.
Ah.
I can paint these things up to 100 times.
Right, okay.
Now especially. Like before I stopped doing the shows, I'd practice once or twice if necessary, if I was nervous, but I wouldn't need to practice every single time. I eventually got really comfortable with it.
Yeah.
But and I thought that kind of carried over time, but it doesn't. As soon as I started practicing, I realized, geez, I need to really focus here.
Yeah, you're like, this is not like riding a bike. It takes time to get back into the swing.
People are coming, it's going to be fun. Come down, bring the kids. Let them watch me fail. So I've just been practicing night and day. It's going to be good.
And is the main reason for practicing, is that to get the timing right? Or is it more so that you know exactly what strokes you need to be doing to complete the piece?
Both.
Right,
absolutely both.
Introducing the all-new 252 electric range at Hugo Luna Motors. See our Peugeot E2008, now available in electric. This bold SUV boasts a striking design with sleek LED headlamps and a redesigned grille for a powerful presence. With zero CO2 emissions and 156 HP of power, the E2008 delivers efficiency and performance. Discover more at hugolunamotors.ie. Drive the future today.
Midlands 103.
It is Encore, and this is Zoe Ryan. My next guest is a well-known figure around the Rathdowney Errol area. He's done it all, from panto to drumming, poetry. He's even dabbled in crime reconstructions with the national broadcaster. He's now decided to combine his various creative talents into one show, cleverly titled, Come Here Till I Tell You a Good One. Michael, better known as Mick Cray, you're very welcome to Encore.
Hello, Zoe. I dipped my toe in a lot of waters over the years. Enjoyed everything I've done. But most recently, I've taken storytelling, which I've always done a bit of in any case. And I have a one-man show on the road. I've started a few weeks ago. It's a 70-minute show of me singing and reading poetry. I have 2 books of poetry published, and telling yarns, good ones, as we say around here. So that's where I got the title for the show, because people would say to you in this area, if they have a good yarn or a joke for you, they'll say, come here till I tell you a good one.
Yeah.
So, hence the title.
And it seems to be a real mix there. Like you've mentioned there's poetry in it, there's storytelling. Where is it that you came up with the idea to combine kind of all your crafts together?
I suppose they're all things I've done in the past anyway. And it was a sort of almost didn't take a big jump to get to the point of including them. So even over the years when I'd be sitting into music sessions in the pubs, I would often do a poem or a song or tell a yarn. So it seemed like a natural thing enough for me to do. The audience are right there. You're looking into the whites of their eyes. And I suppose that's one of the differences between being in plays. I've been with the Open Door Drama Group for the last few years, and when you're on stage in plays, you don't look at the audience. You keep the fourth wall there. Whereas with what I'm doing now, it's more back to the type of looking them straight in the eye and having a bit of fun with them. And to me, that's the most important thing. Even if I don't make a bob at it, I love entertaining people. I always have done. And there's nothing like the feeling you get when you hear people having a good laugh with you now, not at you.
Yeah.
And so that's the way it's kind of progressed for me, and I'm happy to kind of roll along with it, see how it goes. So I have bookings all the way up to Christmas at the moment. So I'm rolling with the punches. If I get punches or not, I don't know. But I am enjoying it.
And it's a different ball game, isn't it, when, as you said, you're in that type of an intimate setting where you can actually see people's faces. Like, I know, as you said, when you're up on stage, generally you're looking out above the crowd's head. You can see a sea of black, and then you see the lights down the end, but you're not really looking into people's faces. So to keep that eye contact but yet keep in character, that's another level.
Well, I'm not really in character. I'm myself, I suppose.
Sure.
To a degree, but when I tell a story or yarn, I probably go into character. But I'm not obsessed with maintaining. I'm up there as Mike McCrae to tell stories and yarns and sing. I can it's a balancing act between being that and just telling the yarn and putting in a voice. Maybe I have a love for different voices and the way people speak and accents, and it's very interesting. No two people speak the same. And that in itself characterises people. We all have the same as no two people walk the same. No two people laugh the same. So it's every human being is unique, and you can have good fun with it. I'm not laughing at people. Most of the people that I tell the stories about know me, and they know who I am. And it's not a case of making fun. It's wit. In this area, it's not so much telling jokes, it's a case of one-liners. Somebody will hit it on the nail with a one-liner, for instance. Just to give you a short example, there was a very good character who lives outside Earl. He's passed on now. His name was Jimmy Bannon. And one night, unfortunately, this wasn't the funny part. He was broken into and robbed. He wasn't hurt, but there was some tools taken on him. And then he went down to my sister's pub in the village of Earl, which is Dowling's pub, and he sat down to have a pint, and he said to my brother-in-law, "I've just been robbed." And my brother-in-law said to him, "Jimmy, didn't I tell you should get a second watchdog?" And Jimmy said, "I have a second watchdog." He watched him coming in, he watched him going out. So that's the kind of stuff you get around here. It's kind of
bit of Irish humour,
dry wit.
Yes.
And I love to play upon it.
And I suppose you've given us a little taster there of the type of yarns that you would be spewing, but could you give us another example of maybe the type of stories that you'd be recalling? That's obviously very short, as you said, a one-liner.
That's a very short.
Yeah.
That's a very short one.
But for the longer format ones, what type of context are we thinking of here?
They're usually situations that people found themselves in over the years, maybe in the countryside.
Yeah.
Funny situations. Where a fella found himself in a situation and he was able to express it in a funny way. I'm still not explaining myself very well, but
I get
the best thing, Zoe, is for people to come along and they will find out exactly what I do.
I remember famously, I'm one now that I'll go on tangents. I'll be telling a story and I'll veer off in a million different ways. And one of my friends perfectly captured it. She said, "It's not about the destination, it's about the journey," when you're listening to Zoe's stories. So I understand what you're saying. It's about, it's sometimes it's the way someone tells a story and recalls it. That's the best part about, that's the enjoyment.
Well, you can find yourself, it's a very Irish thing to drift off. When people are tracing, they start off, telling the story, he's related to him or her, and suddenly you're gone down a rabbit hole about relations and connections, tracing is not what we say. So my storytelling is a bit like that, in that I don't have a script in front of me for this, not like in a play or a pantomime, I have a script. I have all the material in my head, if you like, the yarns and the poems and the songs, but I don't have a set script that I work to, and I can find myself veering off as well. But so maybe in my case, no two nights are going to be exactly the same, but that makes it interesting in itself.
Mick, how was it that you got into doing this type of work? Because I believe that your background was actually in farming.
Yes, it is, and I don't do a huge amount of farming these days. I'm drawn to pension since last year, so I'm taking things a bit easier, and I have an arrangement with a contractor with the farm and that. And it's just something that I would have done anyway. So even all through the years of my farming life, I was involved in the pantomimes in Rathdowney. I wrote and produced and directed them along with a very good friend of mine, Niall O'Doherty. For 30 years I've done that and milked cows and had cattle and did the farming. So I suppose it's more a case now that I have a bit more time to do those things as well.
So it was a case that performing's always been something that you've done, and as you say, it was alongside your profession, for want of a better phrase. And now, since, as you said, since retirement, you've been able to devote more time to it.
That's exactly it. And to do what I'm doing, I suppose you need time, and you need, even if you're involved in amateur dramatics with a group, it is easier if you're not in a 9-to-5 job.
Of course.
You can give your time to it. And this, I have the time to give to this now. And to, as I say, I'm relishing it and enjoying every minute of it. Another thing I'm doing, and I did it yesterday actually, is I go along perhaps a week before I'm going to do a particular venue, and I drop into the men's shed or the knit and natters in that particular town maybe a week in advance and say hello to them and ask them to come along. And give to those that may not have known me previously, it gives them a little taster, and I sit in for a bit of fun, which I did yesterday. Now I had a lovely hour in Moat with the men's shed, and which is right beside the theatre. So some of them are going to come along next week. So I'm using my own form of networking, and then talking to lovely people like yourself who are giving me a bit of time on the radio.
Yeah, well, obviously it's fantastic to be in a kind of theatre setting doing pieces like this, but it's nice to hear that you're bringing it into spaces that people necessarily wouldn't expect a performance like that in your local men's sheds.
Yeah, well, sometimes unless people come along, they won't know. It's like the chicken and the egg. People might know who Mick Cray is and may not take the first step. So Mick Cray is taking the first step and heading out to meet people in that way, you know. It's a bit like a politician going for election, which I won't ever do.
Just so going around canvassing the local areas.
Yeah, exactly. I'll do one short little poem that I said, just to give you an idea of the poetry. Well, Zoe, this is one of my poems from my first publication, The Rhymes of a Rustic Boy. It's about a little sweet shop that was in Rathdowney when we were growing up, and it stuck in my memory because the shopkeeper was very nice to children. His name was Billy Egan, and around here they say Egan, they don't say Egan. So the shop was called Billy Egan's. Billy Egan, big and jolly, would always add an extra lolly. In his brown coat he would beam, bursting out through every seam. Thrived upon the chat of kids who drooled at tins with open lids. Jars of sweets to bait the band, looked so small in Billy's hand. Always singing, always bright, Billy was a pure delight. An antidote for girls and boys escaping from the teacher's eyes. Once upon a time there was an item awful scarce to us. Banana ice cream stocks were gone. We searched Rathdowney, not a one. Then the good news, jump for joy. Billy had a good supply. Back to Billy on the double. Kids to Billy were no trouble. Soon he had us sorted out with squares of ice cream extra stout. Bless you, Billy. Sleep in peace. Shame your laughter had to cease. Hope you're in the arms of God. If you're not, 'tis all a cod. Shops like Billy's are scarce today. The smile was free, no fee to pay. His beaming face I still can see, lobbing lollies out to me.
I'd say there's an awful lot of listeners who'll be listening and they'll be able to vividly picture their own Billy Egan that they would have had growing up and tipping into the local shop.
Yeah, well, this is the thing about a lot of stuff is that it's familiar to a lot of people. And that was said to me when I published the first book. I was kind of nervous that people might be just laughing at this idiot of a farmer trying to write poetry. Yeah. But so many people said to me, oh, I remember that shop, and I remember a shop like that where I lived. And I had another one about playing cowboys up in the local quarry on the way from school. No fear or danger, breaking our necks or anything. And a lot of other people said, we used to come home to such a place and we'd be playing on the way home. We'd almost forget to go home.
Yeah.
And so lots of people, you ring a bell with lots of people's memories of their own childhoods, and that's part of the beauty of it and the success. It's the ordinariness of what you're writing about, but it's extraordinary because it's our childhood and our past and our own memories.
But that's it, as you said, that's where the success comes from. It's when people can relate to something, that's where they keep coming back for more, and that's when they genuinely laugh, because they're probably, as you said, they're listening to what you were saying, but they're picturing their own similar encounters to it.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the, if that happens, it's if you've had a success, because what you're doing is real, and it's grounded in other people's lives as well.
Mick, if anybody wants to find out more about yourself and the work that you do, and indeed all the upcoming shows that you have as part of this tour, where can they find out more information?
Yeah, I'm not a hugely technologically minded person, but I'm on Facebook. I'm not on TikTok. I'm not on any of the other platforms, really. I have a Facebook page. Michael Cray is my Facebook page, and anybody can send me a friend request there. And most of the stuff I have up there is public anyway. And all the dates, like if anybody, usually what I'm doing now, Zoe, is a week before I do a particular venue, I will advertise it on a Monday on my Facebook page, Michael Cray. But there are also signs at the venues, and the theatres have got me advertised in their brochures, so people can find out from those. I be advertising as I go, and if people ring the different theatres where I'm advertised, they'll get more detail there. And if anybody wants to book me, you may give out my number if you wish, but not as regards tickets. I don't have any tickets to give anybody. You'd have to talk directly to the venues about the tickets.
Yeah.
But I have the list of the dates, ongoing dates, on my Facebook page.
Well, as you said, you have your hands full now at the moment with the one-man show, and you have plenty of dates coming up there. But Michael, thank you so much for speaking with me this evening. It's been a really interesting chat, and I can only just imagine the set, that I think it would go from the weird and the wonderful and everything in between.
Well, that's it, Zoe. I'm a licorice all sorts, a little bit of everything. And thank you for giving me the time on the radio, and hopefully people will come along to some of the venues. If you keep an eye on the Facebook page, particularly a week in advance, I'll nearly always give a week's notice of where I'm going to be next.
Now, Mick started his tour in the Midlands in Edenderry, and he will be in Tour Ard in Moat this Sunday, September 21st, Burr Theatre the following Friday, September 26th, before venturing down to Carlow to perform in Club Dart on the 28th, and is in the Anvil in Portarlington on October 5th. Up next, a whistle-stop tour of Culture Night events happening across the Midlands.
Midlands 103.
We are into the final segment of Encore this Thursday night, and with the week that's in it, I thought I'd give you a little bit of a breakdown of the events happening across the Midlands for Culture Night tomorrow. Now, obviously there are loads of events happening across the three areas, so I've just picked and choose a couple of them that caught my eye. In Offaly, Clara Musical Society are putting together a performance featuring well-known songs from the movies and musicals we all know and love. If you pop on down to Edenderry Library, you'll be able to get involved with painting a community mural. Don't worry, all materials will be provided. You just need to bring yourself and your creativity along to the event. In Tullamore, the premiere of the short film Dairy Babes will be taking place in Esker Arts, and if you missed it, you can check out my chat with the director and leading man of the film on last week's show on the podcast section of Midlands 103's website. Laois are hosting a culture crawl through a series of events featuring history, art, music, crafts, literature and comedy, so that promises something for everyone. And if you missed it when it was in cinemas, there's going to be a screening of On Colin Kuhn at Clonad GA. A night of celebration at Doonaslee in Westmeath, a rare occurrence where the park will be open at night to host harp and drumming performances, wreath making in Divine Art Studio, and an apple painting workshop in Castle Pollard. And there is honestly so much more going on. I could have spent the full hour of the show talking through the events, so do check out Culture Night website where you can see all the different events listed, and you can search by your town name or your county to see what's going on near you. That's all for me tonight, but up next you have 2 whole hours of the best in Irish and American country music on country roads, followed by Twilight Time with, drumroll please, a brand new host at 10 p.m. Until next time, good night.